when you're grabbing a log like this, you really just pick one up, you set it on top of the other one, and then you push your grapple down a little bit, and you don't push down too hard. My inner voice is telling me to do these springs. Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's my inner voice. It doesn't think. The millionaire thinks, how long can we make it last? You know what I mean? And the Eddie thinks, I'm gonna fix it now because I don't want to wonder. Well, let's just be prepared. That's wisdom. And it's fast. I just have to sharpen up this chainsaw and I'll be ready to cut. I just noticed it was dirt cut. Not sure who ran it. I don't think it was me because when I dull my chainsaws, I always sharpen them the next morning. But I'm just getting it ready here. Okay, well anyway, we're taking out this dead tree right here. And we're taking out this pine tree right here. That's gonna pull right through these branches on these neighboring trees. The Bobcat can lift 1,000 pounds, so we're gonna put the grappler here and pick it up. Not every time when you cut up a tree you get to have an easy time like I'm having in this video. Sometimes it gets bound up a lot easier, or you're just scrambling through a lot more hard to access areas and getting poked and hooked by branches. This tree just seems like a good demo of what you're really trying to do when you prep branches for the Skidsteer. I like to try to cut them as long as I can, but you can't have pieces branching off like that. So right at the log I'm cutting this. Obviously these branches that are coming off need to get cut. That log is going to go in the trailer, so we're going to cut these as big and long as we can. We're not going to go small with them, even though they're a little awkward and a little bit too long. It's still better to have them too big than too small. Once they're small, you have to hand feed them to the chipper a lot of times. It's just creating more manual labor. So I know it seems totally intuitive that you would just, obviously you wouldn't cut it up too small. But that's one of the things about having the Bobcat that you have to get used to. Kind of a common sense thing that you might have to get taught if you don't have some experience cutting trees to begin with. And a lot of guys, they figure, well, I can hoist it, it's no problem, I'll just grab and feed the pieces, but they don't understand that creating more work for the team by cutting it too small. So that's why we're just, leaving them long, leaving them big. You'll see how long these pieces are. They're almost too long still, but that's still the goal. right here I'm starting to take out the branches with the Bobcat now, and I just wanted to demonstrate this to you guys that, you know, it is possible to do it with the root grapple. It's not ideal for situations like this, but surprisingly rare for us to have a situation where you can't take out long branches left or right. Most of the time, we actually could drive these branches out of someone's backyard no problem at all. These houses just happen to be very close to each other, and so the technique I'm going to be using is just my way of solving the problem. A lot of people will say that this other, you know, log grapple that you can get is way better because it can spin, and they are correct that that kind of grapple is extremely useful, but I find myself being a little bit resistant to anything that costs me $5,000 and that's all the time, not just part of the year. I'd have to bring it with me for one thing, and I'd have to like it more than this, and I genuinely don't know if I'm gonna like it more. So if I spend all that money and I don't really think it's superior, and one of these two grapples is gonna sit there on my property and not get used, and maybe sometimes on some jobs I'll use the opposite, you know, grapple, but this seems to be the best grapple. Some guys use a utility grapple, which is a bucket, and then you can do dirt work with that, and you can also scrape, and you don't have to worry about using a piece of plywood when you scrape. You can just use the bucket. But I can still scrape with the grapple. It's just a little bit more headache. But you can see I'm going to feed this right into the chipper, no problem. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but you're doing the same technique that you would be doing with that other grapple. The only difference is you've got to master this grapple. You're still driving the tracks exactly the same as you would, well, almost exactly the same. You're doing a little scrubbing because you need it to go left or right. Yeah, let's just enjoy this. That chipper is great. It's a hard maple, so it's feeding in there slow. Look at that, just eating. It's got nice sharp blades on it now. But even those little skinny branches really make that thing work when you're dealing with hard maple. It's definitely one of the more, well, it's just like that previous job we did. Recently I did a video, and then there was another hard maple, and it kept peeling out early, and it's kind of unpredictable, and then the branches were extremely long on it. Surprising. This one, I was so scared I was going to accidentally hit that car, which was parked right there. He was kind of far away, but these branches were just so long. I think we did it okay. The car was a pretty good distance away. But we use a lot of operating area when we're feeding the chipper with the Bobcat. It's worth it. I mean, if we can manage to do the setup, it's definitely worth it. It saves us a lot of hassle doing this manual. When you're grabbing a log like this, you really just pick one up, you set it on top of the other one, and then you push your grapple down a little bit, and you don't push down too hard, and you maneuver forward and backward, and it puts the logs both right inside the grapple. Right here you can see I'm putting my head out to the left and the right to look for the low side. There's always a low side on the grapple that's going to dig. And then you just carefully dig your teeth down just enough to get under the grass, and you can get up under that plywood. And boom, you've got your rake. That way you don't have to get down and pick it up by hand every single time you want to use the plywood. This part of the process might seem like a giant nothing, but what it actually is a huge time saver. When you're running the Bobcat, you're always looking for a way to get by without some new implement that they're going to make money off you when you buy it. Or you're just spending a ton of money on implements, I guess. That's fine, I got no problem with people doing that. But for my purposes, this plywood serves many roles, and I can replace it and get brand new fresh plywood for a tiny amount of money. It's not too heavy for a man to carry, and it doubles as a rake and a spot to turn. So that's why we like it. And I think we got the right idea. I think it's a great system. Keeps guys around, not having to do all this stuff manual. See how much material I got there? You can almost just follow up with a blower at this point. There's a little bit of raking, but it's not too bad. I definitely recommend you guys try this method. Use the good high-end premium 3/4 treated plywood. This carrying method for mess is another solid gold technique. You just can't even imagine. It saves you from wheelbarrows, it saves you from tarps, it saves you from just manual carrying a lot of stuff that'll scratch you up, tear you up, make you work super hard. Obviously here he's sliding it off manually, but I can actually drive up to it. I'll go straight up to the back of it, and I'll just tip that and shake it one time, and everything bounces off and goes right into the more bark. Not all of it, but it'll get the main stuff in the middle will go into the chipper, and then all you have to do is kind of push it in there with your hands. It'll go right in. We got a high tie-in up there on the small twigs. It goes down from the other side of the tree into here, and it's tied on with a running bowline at the trunk. It's gonna pull down through those branches a little, but it will catch. Let's check this running bowline. Wow, bro. I think you did a running bowline. This machine is sufficient for pulling a lot of trees over, but you need to be watching your notch. The notch is the most important aspect of a tree felling job. It's not the rope, it's not, well, all those things come into play. But on a smaller job where you can actually pull it over with a Bobcat MT100 that weighs 3,000 pounds, your notch matters the most. All you're doing is just providing it a little encouragement to go in that direction. You're not dealing with exorbitant amounts of power, and even if you have infinite power, the tree is still going to follow the notch 99.9% of the time. Depends on the wood you're dealing with, but most of the time. Now that I'm cutting my back cut, he's pulling this tight. It's going to shower some branches down. That happens. It's my job to be watching, but I know what I was dealing with on this tree. It was really grabby. There was a lot of branches up there. But your Bobcat guy can knock some stuff down on your head or whatever, and his job to pull the tree. So now it's ready to fall, but it's not falling, so I'm just getting away before I tell him to yank. And now here he goes. No problem. See? You gotta do this only on trees that can be pulled by a small machine. Here's another great technique. It's basically grabbing the branch from the side of the branch at a diagonal, so it's not sticking out straight in front of me. Obviously I can't really carry it that way, it'd be too long and unwieldy, but I'm closer to the center of gravity on the branch, and that's helping me manage it. And it narrows up the profile of the machine with the branch as it travels through this area. It's also great for feeding. It's an awesome, awesome position to drive these pieces into the chipper. And then when we're carrying bundles that are, laterally positioned, it's always nice when we have bundles like this. The branches are the perfect length already. Everything can't be ideal like that, so in a minute you're about to see me getting kind of frustrated with one that basically I picked up the bundle and then everything either broke or fell apart or was positioned badly. This is just one of those times when the Bobcat can't really help itself. It needs help from a human being, and you can be a very good driver, but you're taking apart a tree that's got all these branches crossed over each other and just trying to grab it and hope that it's set up properly for you. You're bound to run into some stuff like this. The Bobcat is working way harder at this little branch stack deal than I would have been if I just got down off of it. It has an addicting quality, driving a machine makes you just want to stay on it. It's like I'll just stay up here, I'll figure it out without getting off, but that's what Adrian's there for. He's there to help me, I'm there to help him, and we get it done, but some of this work is manual. Here's another one of those positions where the Bobcat just can't win. Sometimes you're just not able to get in position and you just have to get down and do it by hand. You can see Adrian is curling this thing down as he goes up, and then he's pushing down on the pile. He's getting a nice big grab. He's watching those bottom teeth so they don't dig down into the ground. He's going to get a good big bite here. See how he rolls it forward as he's driving? Boom. That's a nice grab right there. Hopefully he's able to get it out. He had to let some of it go, but that was a good grab, and that's the method that we use.
Just like that. Squat, bro, squat.
So you can see it's easy to grab a huge bundle of sticks as long as they're not too tiny and small. And then I'll just shake it a little bit like that, and that gets the worst of it out so it doesn't make a mess while I'm driving across the yard. Once we get to a point in the job where most of the yard has been blown off and we've just got some residual piles, we'll just scrape it a little bit and then push it up on there with the rake. We'll clean rake the spot where the pile used to be and just carefully drive this without having any spills. We'll always try to tuck the branches along the edges so they don't fall off, and that works really well. Oh yeah, here's another cool thing we sometimes do. If there's ever something that's just out of reach, normally you would get a ladder, throw a string line, something like that. I can climb up the Bobcat and use it as a little convenient way to gain an extra height. I couldn't grab this with the Bobcat, it wouldn't reach that high. So I think that's pretty much it on this video. I just wanted to share some of our little techniques and methods that we use, why this machine is so useful. It seems like it does just about everything, and that is why we love it. So thanks for watching, guys. If you got to this point, have an awesome day.